I have never built my business off cold calling. Not once. Not in my first year, not now. And I still managed to get my first deal, build consistent momentum, and eventually build an entire career without ever picking up the phone to call a stranger off a list. If the idea of cold calling makes your stomach turn, if you've avoided it, dreaded it, or just flat out refused to do it, I want you to know something important. You don't have to. There are real, proven lead generation strategies that work without ever dialing a stranger. I know because I built my entire business on two of them. Open houses got me my first deal, and consistent social media content became the engine that eventually drove half of my entire business. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how both of those work for me with the real timeline and the real numbers, so you can build a lead generation system that doesn't require cold calling either. My name is Scott Coomer. I'm a real estate team leader based in Arizona. Let's get into it. Before I get into the two strategies that work for me, I want to address something directly. Cold calling has been taught in this industry for decades, and for some agents, it genuinely works. If you're someone who loves picking up the phone, who doesn't get rattled by rejection, who can make 200 calls a day and stay energized, cold calling can absolutely build a business. But here's the truth that most coaching content won't tell you. Most agents hate cold calling, and the agents who hate it tend to avoid it. Half do it or burn out trying to force themselves into a strategy that doesn't match who they are. And when that happens, their lead generation suffers because they're not actually doing the activity consistently. Here's what I believe and what I've lived out in my entire career. The best lead generation strategy is the one you will actually do consistently, not the one that worked for somebody else, not the one that sounds the most impressive, the one that fits who you are. Because consistency is what actually produces results, regardless of which strategy you choose. For me, that was open houses and social media. Let me show you exactly how both of these played out. Open houses were the first lead source I committed to when I started in real estate. And I want to give you the real timeline, not the highlight reel, actual honest progression. I started doing open houses consistently from the very beginning of my career. Not occasionally, not when I had time, every single weekend, without exception. And here's what the timeline actually looks like. It took about 4 months of consistent open house before I got my first deal. 4 months. I want to say that clear because a lot of agents quit way before that. They do 2 or 3 open houses, don't see results immediately, and conclude the strategy doesn't work. If I had quit at month 2 or even month 3, I would have walked away right before the results showed up. But I kept going every weekend, consistently. And by month 6, I had 8 closings that came directly from open houses. 8 closings from a lead source that costs nothing but your time and a stack of yard signs. Let me break down why open houses work so well as a lead source for me, especially early on. Reason number 1, the people are already interested. Unlike cold calling where you're interrupting someone who wasn't thinking about real estate at all, everyone who walks through an open house is already engaged. They're already in buying mode or close to it. You're not creating interest from nothing. You're meeting people who already have it. Reason 2, it's a face-to-face relationship builder. You get to have a real conversation. You get to ask genuine questions about their life, their timeline, and what they're looking for. That builds trust far faster than a cold phone call ever could. Reason number 3, it compounds. Every single open house adds names to your database. Every single open house adds names to your database. Even the people who don't convert immediately become contacts you can nurture over time. By month 6, I wasn't just getting deals from that weekend's visitors. I was getting deals from people I had met months earlier who were finally ready to move. That's the part people miss about open houses. The deal you close in month 6 might have started as a conversation in month 2. If you want the exact step-by-step system I use for open houses, how many signs to put out, how to find homes to host, how to convert visitors before they leave, I have an entire video dedicated just to that. I'll link it for you so you can go deeper on that specific strategy. But the headline here is this: open houses gave me my first deal in 4 months and 8 closings by month 6 without a single cold call. Now I want to talk about the second lead source that became even more significant over time: social media. And I want to be upfront with you about something important. Social media is not a fast lead source. If open houses were my short-term engine, social media was my long-term engine. It took me real time to build, but the payoff was significant. Here's the honest timeline. I started posting consistently from very early in my career. Not occasionally, not when I felt inspired, consistently, week after week, months after months. And it built slowly. Real relationships don't form overnight, and neither does an audience that trusts you. By year 2 in real estate, 50% of my entire business was coming from social media. Half my business from posting consistently for a couple of years. That number completely changed how I think about lead generation because it proved something to me that I now believe deeply. Social media isn't really about going viral or chasing trends or having the most polished product. It's about consistency compounding over time. Let me explain why this works so well as an alternative to cold calling. First, it builds trust before you ever speak to someone. When someone has been watching your content for months, they already feel like they know you by the time they reach out to you. You're not introducing yourself as a stranger. You're confirming what they already believed about you. Second, it works while you sleep. A cold call only reaches the person you're calling in that exact moment, if they even pick up. A piece of content you post once can be discovered by someone 6 months later and still convert into a client. Third, it scales without more of your time. Cold calling requires you to personally make every single call. Content once created keeps working without you actively doing anything else. Now here's the honest caveat I want to give you because I promise you the real picture, not the highlight reel. Social media took longer to pay off than open houses did for me. Open houses gave me a deal in 4 months. Social media took roughly 2 years to become 50% of my business. If you need fast results, social media alone is not going to get you there quickly. That's why I personally ran both strategies at the same time. Open houses for near-term momentum and social media as a long-term compounding asset running in the background. 2 years later, that background asset had become half of my entire business. So how do you actually combine these two strategies without spreading yourself too thin? Here's exactly how I would approach it if I were building this from scratch today. In your first 90 days, open houses should be your primary focus. Get on the schedule, show up consistently, every weekend. This is your fastest path to your first deal without cold calling. At the same time, start posting content about what you're doing. This is the part most new agents miss. You don't need to wait until you have something impressive to post about. Film yourself setting up signs for your open house. Film yourself walking through the property before visitors arrive. Talk about what you're learning. You are simultaneously generating leads through the open house itself and building your long-term audience by documenting the process. As your open house momentum builds, your content should evolve with it. Share the wins. Share what you're learning about the market. Share genuine behind-the-scenes moments of your business. This is exactly the kind of content that over time builds the trust that eventually converts into inbound business without you ever having to make a cold call. By month 6, you should have real momentum from your open houses plus 6 months of consistent content building your future pipeline. That's the exact 1-2 combination that worked for me. Near-term results from open houses, long-term compounding from content. Neither one required me to ever pick up a phone and cold call a stranger. Let's bring this all together. Open houses gave me my first deal after 4 months of consistent activity and 8 closings by month 6 without a single cold call. Social media took longer to build, but by year 2, it became 50% of my entire business. Proof that consistency compounds even when the results aren't immediate. The two strategies work best together. Open houses for near-term momentum, social media for long-term compounding growth. Neither one requires cold calling a single stranger. If cold calling has been the thing holding you back from taking lead generation seriously, I want you to hear this clearly. You don't have to do something that goes against who you are in order to build a successful real estate business. You just have to pick up a strategy that fits you and then actually doing it consistently, even when the results take longer than you want them to. That's the entire secret. Not some hidden trick, just consistency applied to the right strategy for who you are. If you're trying to figure out which lead generation strategy actually fits you and how to build a real system around it, I'd love to help you think it through. I do one-on-one Zoom calls with agents who want to build a lead generation plan that doesn't rely on cold calling, using strategies and actually matching your strengths. No pressure, no pitch, just an honest conversation about what's going to work for your specific situation. The link to book directly on my calendar is in the description below. It takes about 30 seconds to book a time that works for you. And if this video gave you a path forward that feels more like you, subscribe to this channel. I post content every week built on real strategies and real results for agents who want to build a business without sacrificing who they are to do it. I'm Scott Coomer. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.